Hey, I can't be the only one. This thing's starting to get weeds growing up around it, but for good reason, but that's fixing to change. This is a 1977 GNC Sierra Classic and one of the nicest square bodies I have. And I recently dropped a big block in it, and that's as far as I got. I got this thing running, but my holdup is, and that is when I put this big block in here, this is the motor that come out of my Cummins swapped crew cab. So I originally had the power steering pump. It was hooked up to hydro boost. I used all that on the Cummins. And now that I'm putting this back in something, I'm trying to find the right power steering pump. And we know back in the day, if you mess with these old engines, there's a million different brackets that come off the exhaust or come off the water pump to hold the power steering pump on. And not just that, the alternator and the water pump. And then you got 3 or 4, sometimes 4 belts with smog pumps and stuff you're trying to figure out with this whole serpentine or V-belt style setup. So a while back, I went to a swap meet and I met the guys over at Quick Performance, and they said to reach out to them if I ever had an issue, and I just happened to remember that, and they solved this for me, and I'll show you what I got. So right off the bat, they stood out to me because if you look at their pamphlet here, affordable serpentine systems for your big block Chevy. When we're building these trucks, we all know that every dime counts, and if I can save money anywhere, I'm going with that. So what they specialize in is converting your old school big block to run a small block TBI serpentine setup or the early Vortex style setup. So we know those trucks are everywhere, and you can find those parts a lot easier than this old school stuff. So you can go to the junkyard. Even a 4.3 V6 is the same serpentine setup. You can pull all that stuff off, bolt it right on with these slick brackets they make, and everything's really affordable. This whole kit is like less than 250 bucks. And they even thought of like the crank pulley adapter. So you're even using the junkyard bottom pulley rather than having to buy something aftermarket. And that really is going to help us out. So you're gaining a serpentine belt, which we all know is better because all your accessories are going to be driven by one belt. They last longer. And you got an automatic belt tensioner rather than having to get a pry bar in there, tighten your alternator belt when it starts squeaking and everything. So I'm super excited to get this together. I do not have the parts I need yet. I did find a set at the junkyard. I just been meaning to go pull it. But what's also better, they mentioned to me, they're like, well, what kind of AC system you running? Because that old style setup runs the R4 compressor like that right there, which works, but it's kind of old school. If you buy like vintage air or something, they're all going to come with this Sandin SD7 compressor. So this is going to work great if you're just getting the factory AC working or you're going to run vintage air. So what they also included was the bracket to slip right in there to be able to handle or bolt on this Sandin air compressor, which is pretty awesome to me. It comes with all the instructions and everything, but you can check them out online. I believe they have a Facebook page. I'm going to try to tag, but I'm not sure how that's going to go. But super excited to get that back together. That truck has been sitting, I am scared to say how long, and it's actually one of the nicest squares I have, and that motor is healthy. I do have to say, I was telling everybody that it was a true LS6 out of a 44. I read the numbers, and I thought it wasn't true myself, and there's a big story behind that engine, and I had a guy reach out who is basically a historian on LS6 Chevelle motors, and that is not. That is a LS, I don't know. It's a car engine, still a healthy engine, and it was built by I forgot the name of the shop. It was out of Modesto, California. The people that built the American Graffiti engines, they're not in business anymore. But I'm excited to get that truck going. But I'll do another video on the install as soon as I get the parts here. But till next time.